Have you ever thought about learning to play a musical instrument that doesn't require any music theory? Well, if you have, then the didgeridoo might just be the thing for you. It's a musical instrument. It's quite an ancient musical instrument. It goes back quite a long way from Australia originally, and you can learn to play it without any music theory. And you can learn to play it, if you love the idea of an instinctive instrument, something that's intuitive. It can take a long while to really become good at it, but you don't need music theory. I mean, it fits in with people if you do use music theory, but you can learn to play it without any music theory at all. And really, that's a long time ago. What really appealed to me was, I can remember at the time, when I remember listening or hearing the didgeridoo in the back of my mind and thinking it's something I wanted to give a go. But part of the reason I wanted to try it was because I think at that particular time, going back over 20 odd years now, I'd been doing a lot of studying, been doing my sound engineering, a lot of technical stuff, a lot of reading up. And I just thought, you know what, I want to try something where I don't need to learn any more theory. And so I thought, well, I'm going to give the didge a go. And I did. At the time, it was bought for my birthday, I think back in 1999 when I first started. And it was an intriguing sound. I thought, I've got to give this a go. And I did. I started. And I didn't realise at the time that you could play an instrument and actually learn to play it and become what I might call a didgeridoo musician or a didge musician, which is purely from instinctive grounds rather than learning the theory. And what I mean, if you learn to become what I call a didge musician, I use the term didge musician because it's the music I play is around the didgeridoo. So it's, didgeridoo musician, didgeridoo music, if you like. And, you can get to whatever level you want to, really. There's nothing to stop you, and you don't need the music theory, to move on and move to a very high level, whatever level you want, depending on how committed and how determined and how much you love it and how much passion you've got for it, because these are the key things that help you get really, really good at it. So yeah, I mean, I think what's, really nice about it is that it's one of those instruments that is a monotone instrument, monotone in the sense that it's just got a fundamental key. Apart from if you're multi-droning or drop toning, you can change the key to a certain extent, certainly with multi-droning. And you can drop tone and get variations in tone, but mainly it's a monotone instrument. And although it sounds simple, and that there is an utter simplicity to playing, and that's another appeal of it, but there's also a rich complexity to the didgeridoo as well, which is from the instrument's timbre. That's all the rich and complex harmonics inside, which you don't have to understand, but it gives you that lovely rich sound. And you can also use your vocal cords, your tongue, to create all kinds of sounds and overtones within the didgeridoo. So you can bring lots of colour to the sound from just a monotone instrument. So it's deceptive, or it's deceiving to think of it as just a monotone instrument. It's a rich and complex instrument, and it's a sophisticated tool if you like to create music. But you can also use it from a very simple standpoint. So this is the utter beauty of it, the beauty of its utter simplicity, that then can be woven into a more richer tapestry, if you like. And yeah, you don't need music notation. You don't need to learn, Western music to do it. So, and also the other thing is, it's one of those instruments that's, you can use it in an ambient sense. You can use it in a groove sense, for beats and things. And so the instinct The instinctive thing I love about it is that it connects you to nature really well, because I mean the didge originates in nature. The comes from Australia, the indigenous Australians, where they invented it, and it comes out of the ground. The original didgeridoos came from the ground, termite, hollow wood, and it's an instinctive instrument. And therefore, for me in particular, I just love that connection. And because it's got such, you can have high pitch, low pitch sounds, all kinds of things, long didges, short didges, give you all kinds of different tonalities. It's an amazing thing, it's to get into. And I encourage anyone that hasn't tried it, or if you want to try a new instrument, give the didgeridoo a go, because it's got a lot to give back to you. And as I say, it's that when I'm playing it, I started off years and years ago, and I couldn't have imagined playing live. It wasn't something that even, it wasn't something I imagined. I even imagined possible, to be honest with you. Wouldn't have thought I could have done that, and didn't really want to. But as time went on, yes, I've learned to record. I've done lots of recordings. I've got about 5, 6 albums or whatever of didge music. I've played live, and I've really enjoyed it. So, and all because as I say, without having to learn any theory, keep my technical mind for other stuff like recording and that it can stay there. But when it comes to actually playing, and learning the beats, even when it comes to grooves and beats, the beats and things for me are instinctive. I don't think of it in terms of what the beats are. I mean, I can do to an extent, but like you might have heard the term 4/4 beat or something. I can do that, but I haven't got to, or I don't need to, in the sense that it's just getting into the groove, feeling the beats, feeling the rich, complex sounds that you can create later down the line, but also just starting from that wonderful feeling of just having a drone. I mean, it doesn't matter what key you're playing in. So mentioning keys, although I don't use music theory, I do have found it useful to look at keys. Like if you hear of a musical instrument, it might be in the key of E, D, B, A, whatever. I found that very useful to play it. If I'm not playing with Western musicians, I can use any didgeridoo, and it doesn't have to be keyed into anything. No key. It doesn't have to be a key of D, E, A, B, whatever. Sometimes in between key, like in between a key of D and E, can be nice. It just depends. But you got to remember that a lot of us Westerners are used to Western tuning, and therefore our ears pick up, let's just say somebody's playing a key in between F and E, they might think, well, that sounds a bit odd. Or if you're listening to Eastern tuning, they play between keys, what Western tuning is. So that might sound odd. When you listen to Eastern singers and that, sometimes you can hear their voice or the musical instrument sound odd because it's not on Western tuning. So the beauty of the didgeridoo is you don't need, if you're playing for yourself, you're playing your own music and you're not playing with Western musicians, you don't have to have a didge keyed into anything. It can. So that's the beauty of it, and over the time, when because I haven't learned music theory, what I have done is I created my own notation, in the sense that if I created a pattern, let's just say it was didawah, didawah, I'd write it down and think, what am I doing there? Didawah, didawah. Or if I was listening intently to someone playing and learning, listen to the sounds, I think, oh, that sounds to me like a didawah or a papawah, whatever it is. And then, so for me, instead of going down any music theory route, and I think this applies to a lot of people that play didgeridoo, we learn sort of like vowel sounds and different sounds, and then word phrasing. See, word phrasing for me has been the key, not music theory, word phrasing, using word phrasing for rhythms And then from all that has come kind of like the ability to create a whole track. You know, that's the thing. So I've built up slowly over the years, learning from just sounds on the didgeridoo, simple grooves and rhythms like ooh wah ooh wah ooh wah do wah diddle wah do diddle wah do wah pickle wah do, all that kind of thing. And you can learn whatever you like, you know, as much technicality as you want. But so, as I say, I think it could be very appealing for, you know, even if you are a didge person yourself and you think, well, maybe I need music theory to go to the top level. You don't, you know, there's lots of great musicians that top world-class musicians that never knew anything about music theory. I mean, many do, but you don't have to. And the reason for that is it's the ability to play by ear, you know, and that's really what I do. It's funny, really, because a long time ago, when I was about 14, I think I got a little cheap keyboard bought for me, and I could learn to pick up by hand, you know, by ear. I've learned to play with one hand. It wasn't something I really got into, but it was something I thought maybe later I would do, and I didn't, because I ended up on a didgeridoo. It's very odd, isn't it? I love keyboards. It's one of my favourite instruments, keyboards. And the other interesting thing, I love the sound of the church organ, which isn't everyone's cup of tea. But the funny thing is, I had a friend who used to play a didge, and his particular didge had a very church organ-y sound. And when you think about it, the church organ is just one big fat long pipe. You know, well, there might be smaller ones, a bit like a didgeridoo. So there we go. There's that connection, really. And so that for me, really, and again, it might be for you the feeling that, oh, I am into didge. Do I need music theory? No, you don't. And you can go all the way to top level if you want to. Of course, if you want to learn it, by all means do so. It's not going to hold you back. But if you want to learn to play it instinctively, I use kind of my sense of body rhythm, and I use nature. We are all nature. We're born out of nature. The rhythms, the grooves, the sound are all created from nature. You know, we create this music, from our own individuality, but we're tapping into nature because that's where it comes from. So I don't own it. None of us own it as such. You know, we might own our own tracks, which is a different thing, but it still comes from nature. So at a deeper level, it's nature that really owns the whole thing, the whole show. And that's why I pay homage to it, you know, to nature, and why I love this instrument that comes from the earth and gives you that feeling, and, you know, really deep feeling, you know, when you play it. And this is the draw in it towards a didgeridoo. So if you ever think you want to learn to play an instrument, or if you are playing a didge as an instrument, just think to yourself, you know, you can do it and go as far as you want without any music theory, if you want to. So, you know, as I say, some things are useful, learning about keys, and you know, different keys. If you're playing with Western musicians, or if you later on you get good enough play with Western musicians, you need to know what key you're playing in, because if you're with a bunch of musicians and they're playing in, say, key of D, then you've got to have a didge that plays in key of D and learn how to weave that in and out of the sounds when it changes. Particularly if you're playing for yourself at home and enjoying it, you know, you could just be a sort of freestyle it, you know. You can learn grooves, rhythms and things, but you can also free your mind. You know, it's a great way, the didge, you know, this is the other thing about not cluttering my mind up with any more stuff than I need with particularly music theories, because when I'm playing, it frees my mind. I don't have any of that there. It's an instinctive thing. It's a wonderful thing. Anybody can learn it. It helps you get in touch with yourself, your nature. What could be more beneficial than living on this planet, which in a way is so out of touch with nature at the moment, so out of touch with, you know, some great developments, some terrible things, but also the wonderful thing, the more we get in touch of our own nature and nature itself out there, in here and everywhere, the more we can connect with ourselves, connect with our instruments, and connect with other people. Isn't that a fantastic future we could have? Things we can change things like that just from playing an instrument like the didgeridoo. Isn't that something to think about? Anyway, and coming back to theory, one last thing I'll mention, it originates from Australia as an indigenous instrument, and they don't use theory, Western theory, unless they're playing with a Western band, but with their own clan, in their own tunings, if you like. They use a non-Western tuning system. They don't use that. They don't use keys in the way we do. So, you can free yourself up in that sense. So it's a wonderful thing. And also, I'd advise you to listen to some Western contemporary players, and also listen to some traditional players, indigenous Australians. Listen to their traditional stuff. Western Arnhem Land and Northeast Arnhem Land, two different kind of styles, if you like, and they play it differently, but it gives you it could give you an idea of the sound. And sometimes it might sound a bit odd because it's not necessarily corresponding to a Western ear, but that's a great thing to explore and open your mind to, I think, and I've loved that. I love all aspects of didge, contemporary, traditional, whatever. Anyway, I'll finish on that note. Have a great day.